from being a professor and researcher, my wife doesn't even know what I do. So it's I say I study auditory attention, and she knows that I have none at home, and so she always laughs at me why I'm studying the things that I struggle with at home. And so there's a lot of misconception of what we study, but it's all fun. So my name is Adrian KC Lee. I'm professor in speech and hearing sciences and at the Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences, iLabs. Our lab studies how you can listen to sound in very complex environment, just like when you're in a restaurant. How can you capitalize the visual cues, incorporate them into understanding one talker while there are many talkers are speaking to you at the same time. It turns out people using hearing aids, they find it particularly hard to listen and follow conversations in that environment. So the overall purpose of our research is really trying to make people communicate better in environments of everyday setting. Imagine a kid going to a classroom. If they struggle to listen to their teachers, what they're saying, it's going to be hard to learn. So what we really want to find out is what are the stumbling blocks that people have in terms of listening in these environments when there's so many different sounds. So the purpose, for example, you can imagine, as I said before, hearing aids don't necessarily work in those complex environments. It would be nice to be able to create new hearing devices that can follow the speaker of choice of the user and basically follow the intent of the user. This is actually an emerging technology that many companies are actually following the leads and trying to have a race to get these devices going.
Could you explain a little bit about how the intent or how whoever the person is, how they choose to differentiate like one voice over another?
Yeah, so it turns out when you are listening to one voice versus the other, so let's say I'm a male talker and a female talker both speaking to me, and I'm only selectively listening to the male talker and I'm ignoring the female talker. It turns out your auditory signal in the auditory cortex, or the brain signals in the auditory cortex, actually has a better fidelity to the male speaker compared to the female speaker. And so imagine now you can have a brain-computer interface to read this brain signal online such that it actually judges, oh, the brain signals is following the male talker rather than the female talker. Let me amplify that sound for you. And so that's how a general brain-computer interface, attentional-driven or intent-driven hearing aid can work. Mentoring students and postdocs and seeing that they're successful. I know where I want. I think generally I know what my lab and what sort of shape that I want it to have, but really it's the people, and when the people are successful and they're happy and they find their own calling to do whatever research that they do, I find that that's the most rewarding part. I'm not sure FDA has already, it's in the process, it's just got delayed to approve something called the over-the-counter hearing aid. So the hearing aid industry is undergoing a massive change right now. So right now, when you want to fit a hearing aid, you have to go to the audiologist and get a prescription of how things are amplified. That's important for if you have severe hearing loss. But right now, if you have moderate hearing loss, I actually have moderate hearing loss on my right. I can get by, but maybe amplification would be good for me. But I just don't go and actually get a hearing aid. With the over-the-counter hearing aid, or something called hearables, they're more like electronic devices, just like an earbud that may or may not amplify some sound. It may selectively hone into the sound depending on the different environments. So I have a researcher friend that was on the plane with me the other day, and he was using these hearable device rather than his hearing aid because the hearables can actually dampen the airplane noise while having a selective microphone pointing to me. Now, that's not even amplifying the sound. The over-the-counter hearing aid act and the FDA approval that's pending will open up that market. And so from policy and how hearing science field is evolving, it's going to be quite rapid in the next 5 years.